Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Very happy that you are here. My name is Julie Tamiko Manning, and I am one half of Tashmi Productions. And I am coming to you from the unceded territories of the Ganingehaga, called Jojage, or Montreal.
And I'm Matt Miwa, and I'm coming to you today from the unceded territories of the Anishinaabe Algonquin peoples, or Ottawa. And we just want to welcome you so warmly to this event, which is the culmination of a 3-month process with our 14 fantastic artists. I just want to say, just to give you a little context, that Julie and I have been touring around our verbatim theater piece for the past decade or so. And the best part of that was to meet so many incredible Japanese-Canadian Nikkei artists, cultural workers, community activists. And it's such a warm feeling for us to meet and expand our sense of community across the country, just locally and across the country. And this project was an opportunity to formalize that process and put people together who had never known each other, heard of each other's work, to encounter each other and hopefully create kind of lifelong or substantial relationships and maybe continued collaborations. We'll see.
So just a little word on the collaborations. We've actually been doing this since we've been doing it since December. The artist joined in January, so it's actually been 4 months. And so many of the artists were strangers at the beginning, and we all met online. So the first couple of months was just online, and we really wanted to put the weight on process as opposed to product. And so every few weeks they would update us with a little update of how they were doing, what their work was looking like, how their collaborations were coming along, the relationship, we've been putting that up on our social media since February. And tonight will be, I guess, the culmination of those projects. It was important, I think, as artists to really look at process, because that is where so much of the important work happens. And like Matt and I have been working together for about 10 years. And to be able to find a collaborator in art that has really blossomed into family, I would say. I really feel like we're siblings in art, and with fights and everything. But the idea of people getting to know each other without the stress or pressure of having to produce something is something that we wanted to try and offer some other artists. And the fact is that we are all Nikkei, so everyone has some connection to being Japanese, whatever that is. We have post and pre-war immigrants and descendants of those immigrants. So different generations. We have people from the opposite sides of the country. We have a diverse experience of artists and multidisciplinary artists. And yeah, so it's exciting to see what they have come up with after those 4 months of working together online, mostly.
And how they negotiated their differences, all the different that you just listed.
Yeah.
And it's the intimacy and the trust and the friendships, or just the work, the evolution of the work, you can really trace through the updates, and especially with what you're going to see tonight. We didn't emphasize product, but I think, like all of us, we all wanted to deliver something spectacular, and that's what they did. And Before we begin, I just wanted to thank, we just wanted to thank the Canada Council for the Arts Digital Arts Fund, without which this would not be possible, and the Japanese Canadian Artist Directory, from whom all these artists were selected.
If I can just say one more thing about the Japanese Canadian community, the idea of having a group of Japanese Canadian artists at the forefront, pulling that community together and really giving that community people to look to and to sort of lead us into the future. And what does it mean to be Japanese Canadian? Because it's going, there are so many more stories than there used to be, and so many more experiences, and that's a very exciting thing to be artistic leaders of the community.
And with that, without further ado,
yeah,
boy, and congratulations to the artists.
Okay, Baco, I'm ready for your instructions.
Here's your folding instructions for a new piece. With your square sheet of paper, color side down, and with the corners pointing up and down and to the left and right, fold your paper in half, bringing the right-hand corner over to meet the left-hand corner, and unfold. And now bring the upper right edge of your diamond shape over to meet the center fold line. So you're now bringing the upper right edge of your diamond shape over to meet the center fold line.
Okay.
And do the same on the other side. You're bringing the upper left-hand edge now to that center line. And crease both of these folds well. Now bring the bottom right-hand edge to meet the center line. And do the same on the left-hand side, bringing the bottom left-hand edge to that center line. And crease well.
You mean like that?
Now unfold these last two creases and make reverse folds along those crease lines on both sides. Then turn your form over so that the top point continues to be pointing up. And working on that upper tip, make a pleat fold by making a fold about an inch from the tip. And then another fold going in the opposite direction, so that the tip of this pleated fold continues to point up, away from you. Now fold this pleated tip down about another inch.
Oh, what?
Now fold your piece in half along the vertical center line.
Like that?
And using your left hand, pull the pleated tip at the top,
Pleated tip.
which is now pointing downwards,
Yes.
out towards the left. This will create a new fold on the right top side.
Kind of.
And crease that new fold well.
Okay.
Now make a diagonal fold, starting just below that area where you pulled out that pleated fold, and just above the area on the right side that peaks. Now make a reverse fold along the folded lines that you just made.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't catch that.
You'll see a flap facing you. Move it towards the left.
Flap.
And without turning your piece over, move the corresponding flap on the other side also towards the left.
I don't have a flap.
Now you'll see some of the white side of your paper show. And
Okay.
make your next fold on a horizontal line from the right tip of that visible white triangle over to the right. Use this new fold as your guide
Okay.
to make a reverse fold.
I don't know. Like, it's just a guess.
Now make another fold line about 1/2 inch below the previous fold line, and again use this fold as a guide to make another reverse
I
fold.
don't know what you mean. I'm sorry.
Now fold both those flaps that have the visible white triangles, the one facing you and the one at the back,
These
to the
triangles?
right.
Are these triangles?
Now make a fold on the peak that's right of center. Use this fold as guides to tuck in the peaks.
I don't know what the peaks are.
And now, on the bottom of your form, make horizontal folds on the front and the back sides, about 1/4 inch up from the bottom.
I'm lost,
Folding
Baco. I'm
these
sorry.
folds towards the inside of your form. Voila, you're done.
Oh, okay. Like that? Yeah, I think that's got to be it. Oh, that looks perfect. Yes.
All right, for this form, there's only a couple of steps. This is a very simple origami form. We're going to start with a fresh sheet of origami paper, colored side down, and with the points facing towards us and away from us to the left and to the right. The first move is to fold this into a small triangle, well, half-size triangle, I should say, along the horizontal axis. So we'll take the top point and bring it all the way down to the bottom point, lay it over top, and then crease that. And now we're going to do the same thing in the vertical direction. So we'll take our top right point and we'll bring it all the way over top to the and sit it over top of the top left point, and we'll crease that down. So again, we have a triangle, and we're going to just take the top leaf. So we're going to kind of like slide our left finger underneath that left-hand corner and just take the top leaf. And we want to just fold that top left corner down into that sort of that bottom right corner. Fold it all the way down.
I can't remember if you said it was vertical
Yeah.
or horizontal.
This little flap that we've just made, we actually want to open it up. So we're pretending it's like a pita pocket. We're opening it all the way up, like we're going to put some tomatoes or something in it. And what we actually want to do is just flatten it all the way down, so there's no white visible. We're just going to kind of flatten it down into a square.
Ooh, into a square.
So now what do we have? We've got like kind of a square with a triangle sticking out the kind of the top left-hand corner of it. And we're going to take that that triangle that sticks out the, I guess it's kind of sitting underneath the square now. We're going to kind of imagine a fold line that's we can kind of picture the midpoint of that horizontal top line and connect it down to, I don't know, I guess like that bottom corner, like the very bottom tip. Let's picture that fold line. And
Ooh, this is unusual.
fold it down. I'm going to flip it upside down just to make it easier for myself.
That's a very
Flipped it
unusual
over, I've made that fold, and now I'm flipping it back the other way around, and we're done. So beautiful.
Oh no, I don't think so, John. This was supposed to be an easy one. Oh dear. All right, I guess that's it.
My name is Shion Sky Carter. I'm an independent dance artist based in so-called Vancouver, BC, on the unceded ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. I was born in Japan and came to Canada when I was 6 years old.
My name is Miya Turnbull. I'm an artist and mask maker based in Jabuktuk, also known as Halifax, Nova Scotia, the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. I'm Yonsei, 4th generation mixed Japanese-Canadian.
For our collaboration as part of Yume Digital Dreams, we integrated our respective artistic practices and expressed it in the form of a short film. This work has been designed to function as a remote collaboration since we live on opposite coasts of Canada. And for the past few months, we made use of Zoom calls, emails, sending postage mail through Canada Post, and a shared Google Drive to bring our ideas together and create this work, which we've titled Omote.
Through serendipity, we were able to meet in person for the first time just recently, which was amazing. We made use of our 2-hour visit together by filming some of our performance that we developed beforehand. We were very happy to work together, and we have plans to collaborate again in the future, maybe in a live performance. We found we have many common themes and interests throughout both our work, which has been fascinating to discover. It's so nice to know that by using technology, we can work together even from far away.
We also wanted to add in some sound elements to our film, and we're grateful to have received the help of my partner, Stefan Nazarovich, who helped with music composition.
We are both very honored to be a part of this project. We see this video as a final product of our work together, but we also see it as a beginning and feel that it could change and grow over time, which is exciting. Without any further ado, here's our video.
It's been quite an experience working with Lillian on Gaman for this Yume project. A perspective shift, actually, much like the recalibration in my life since leaving the NFB last year, my professional home of 30 years. Post-NFB, obviously, I mostly cycle and ski all year. Even though Lillian's an experienced and mature artist, she's new to animation and to this kind of time-based storytelling. Her excitement and enthusiasm for exploration is like a kid's in the proverbial candy shop, keen to try everything, everywhere, all at once. One of my central tasks has been to keep her focused on the main story of her mother and aunt, and on building a solid and poignant story structure onto which a film can eventually be built. It's not always simple, since Lillian's creative mind is always racing and always keen to get ideas and notions, in one way or other, out and into tangible reality. It's been like the young filmmakers who try to cram every idea they've ever had into their first film, worried that they'll never get a second film. Well, there are always second films, though sometimes an artist has to work harder for that second than they ever did for the first. That hard work means that at any age or stage, practice, practice, and practice. Build your foundations with repetition, adding one new twist every fifth or sixth turn, or every fifth or sixth run down the mountain, as in my case.
Mom passed away last week. It's time to look through her things. In her bedroom closet, there is only an old, battered cardboard suitcase she had taken to Alberta in 1942 when the government had forced her family into back-breaking labor. It's ironic that Mom had started her adult life with nothing, only one suitcase filled with things she couldn't bear to leave behind, and now she left behind only the same suitcase 70 years later, but this time filled with what she had to leave, not what she needed to survive. Her entire life left behind in one tired suitcase. Inside, there is only an old brown envelope. What are these papers? They are handwritten letters, some draft letters by Mom with lines scratched out, and others still in envelopes. They are in order, according to the date. Inside the envelopes are letters from Japan. The first letter, dated January the 10th, 1947, is from Mom's older sister, Eunice, after she and her 4 Canadian-born children left Canada on May 31st, 1946, and arrived in Japan. Her husband had been deported because he did not have his Canadian citizenship. Eunice writes about the inhumane conditions on the ship. Dear Lily, after we left you in Lethbridge, we were herded like cattle onto the American transport ship SS Marine Angel. This boat was hell, not meant for people, only war machines. You can't imagine how over 600 people could be stuffed into one space with not 1 inch between us. My children cried through the entire trip. There were no meals, only what we brought with us. When we arrived in Japan, we were herded again into a large space, like cattle. Nobody knew what to do with us. Everyone here is starving too. We aren't the only ones who are hungry. Canadians had hated us and called us enemy aliens and yellow peril. But here, in Japan, it's no different. Strangers shouted us in the streets. What are you doing over here, stealing our food? Go back to America. Lily, it's awful. I wish we were back in Canada with you. I'm sorry to complain to you, but I can't talk about this to anyone else. Tak doesn't even speak to anyone anymore. As always, Eunice. Mom answers Eunice's letter many months later. Dear Nessun, I'm sorry it took me so long to reply. You must have been shocked when Dad, Mother, and Rosie decided to follow you to Japan. I had another baby girl, Marion. Then, I was soon carrying another baby. But I contracted nephritis and I was in hospital for 40 days. I lost a son. Roy had an elderly couple look after Marion while he worked the sugar beets all by himself, carrying Lillian on his back and caring for her. I don't know how he did it. Things have been hard for us since you left, but not nearly as bad as what's happening to your family. It's awful what you're going through. I'm shocked that the Japanese are treating you so badly. Tak's family must be beside themselves to have to take in so many people, especially when Dad, Mother, and Rosie arrived. All the best, Lily. In Eunice's next letter, she was able to get work as a translator for the American Army, so the family was able to get their own apartment. The American soldiers gave Eunice extra food and candy for the kids, so she was grateful. But this made the Japanese even more hostile. The Japanese children made fun of her children, asking them why their eyes aren't blue, and then bullied them. Eunice's children had a very difficult time with school. Even the teachers poked fun of them and looked away when the Japanese children were mean to them. Eunice and her children are Japanese, but they are treated as foreigners. Sad news from Eunice follows. Dear Lily, I'm very sorry to tell you that Dad passed away. He had a stroke and didn't recover. I think he just gave up. I wish we could all be together again, but the Canadian government is not allowing us to return, even if we are Canadian born. Rosie is very sick. She contracted tuberculosis. There's no treatment for her here. I'm afraid for her because she's getting worse. A friend of mine in Vancouver is trying to help us get her back to Canada through her army connections. As always, Eunice. Rosie was eventually allowed to return to Canada in 1957, but she passed away. She was only 37. She had come home, but it was too late. Eunice brought my grandfather's ashes back to Canada, and she buried both of them together in British Columbia. The internment years were so devastating that it left my parents speechless, wanting to spare me from the horrific experience of the forced removal. But knowing is better than not knowing. Japanese Canadians should be proud of the people who had met the challenges with dignity and courage. Gaman, to overcome whatever life throws at you without complaining. That's what it means to be Japanese Canadian. That is who we are.
Bishu Gandai Wanga Kono Tokoro Tohai Kagamuke tsukushite Hito Kyoto 以上の口飲み取る瞑想日本語お月さまいくつ13、7つまだ年若いがいつも年を取らないでお月さまいくつ13、7つまだ年若いが年を取らないで三日月になったりまんなるになったり次の初めの二月さまは眉に似たとよ姉さまの笑顔に匂う細眉にくしにも見えましょう青柳の濡れて色まず洗い髪おしろいつけて手につけて姿ぐずさぬ身だしなみ映す鏡はまん丸なあれ十五夜のお月さま
We have inherited their eyes, their pickaxe eyes. We see the mountains still weeping. We hear the silence, now muted. The blood still trickles from the wounded rock. We are the fragments of fragments. Our hesitant eyes look back, needing to see, reluctant to offend. The blood still trickles from the wounded rock. From the dust of the prairies, a new crop has taken root. The tending and attending has borne fruit. Years of wind, years of rain, scatter the seeds, erode the soil. We've painfully exposed what you labored so hard to conceal. Blinded, still we search. Mute, we attempt to speak. If we listen hard enough, we can hear the beat. We can see the lifeblood throbbing in the veins that lead us back to the heart, the rock, the source.
What is this idea of home? Is a home a who, a what, a where? There was something comforting in the Saskatchewan skies and the valleys that reminded me of Lethbridge. But I forgot I needed to be enveloped in cavernous, snow-capped mountains until we emerged into the Rockies. My mouth gaping at their marvel, as if it was the first time I've seen something more than just a hill. In that moment, I remembered what it meant to be home. Home is in the mountains and the ocean, yet thinking of my eventual descent into Vancouver, my stomach still churned with nerves. Part of me was relieved to return home, but home is only temporary, and I've had this feeling before.
When I was growing up in London, Ontario, we often had a grandparent living with us. First, my dad's mom, later my mom's dad, who we called Papa. One year, Papa took a trip back to Vancouver to revisit places and people he'd left during the forced evacuation in 1942. My mom told me later that he got lost in the Powell Street area that had once been Little Tokyo. He didn't recognize the once familiar places. He just stopped and cried. Hometown.
Vancouver,
London,
British
Ontario.
Columbia.
London in
Vancouver,
southwestern
on the
Ontario,
unceded
is on the traditional
lands
lands of the
Musqueam, Squamish,
Attawandaron,
and
the
Tsleil-Waututh nations.
Anishinaabe, the
Area
Haudenosaunee, the
designated
Luna
protected
Pequot, and
by
the
the Canadian
Huron-Wendat
government
peoples.
in
It is now
1942.
also known as the Forest City,
My
my
hometown.
hometown.
Home is 3 numbers, 3 letters, on a suburban street in Vancouver, BC. Home doesn't change, it's permanent. A structure, unchanging, sitting, sitting, sitting. But what happens when a home changes? Home becomes a rabbit, 8 dogs, a slithering snake, black denim, cold coffee, and a superior lake. Home.
My first home was at 445 Chester Street in London, Ontario. It was a small house, and when my grandma Obokata lived with us, she had a small iron bed in the basement and a big bed of irises, peonies, and wildflowers in our side yard. Scrub, scrub, scrubbing, your garden hands, Grandma. Rub, rub, rubbing, your rounded back, Grandma. Blink, blink, blinking, your tired eyes, Grandma. So many mysterious and wonderful things you do in a day. You fall asleep with your glasses on. To see my dreams better, you laugh. What dreams do you dream, Grandma? Behind your glasses, behind your smiling flower eyes. Greetings, traveler. Have you come to visit my humble home?
I'm lost. Can you help me find my way?
Oh, yes, that does happen sometimes. But haven't I seen you here before?
Perhaps, but it's been years since I've been to this part of the forest.
And where are you going? Do you have a destination?
Rosedale Valley. I've heard there's gold to be found there.
Ah, yes. And do you think you would know gold when you see it? Gold can be mercurial, changing, shifting. It's not always what you think.
I have never seen gold before, but I hoped I would find a way to see it.
I think you have seen gold before. You just didn't recognize it.
Excuse me, but if you do know the way to Rosedale Valley, please direct me. Surely I will recognize it there.
Dear traveler, I think I can guide you to the place you are searching for. But why are you in such a hurry? Why not spend a little time with me? I'm a lonely old woman and don't get many visitors.
Well, I suppose I could. Mind if I ask if you have something to eat?
Oh, perhaps. What are you hungry for?
A warm meal, perhaps. My journey has been for several weeks, and I've eaten not much but the soil.
Several weeks? And eating the soil? That sounds delicious. And what have you seen on your journey?
I don't really know. Somehow, here in this forest, everything has become a distant blur. I don't even know how long I've been away. I know I must have seen many things, but my journey is almost over, so if you could just give me a little to eat, I'll be on my way.
I know I said my home is humble, but really, it is a paradise to me. I have everything I need, and then some, and I'm happy to share it with you. For starters, we can feed your ears, and then you can feast your eyes. The main course will fill your heart with warmth, and if you still have an appetite, you might fill your belly with laughter. Now, make yourself at home. Isn't this what you were craving?
Well, I guess I could stay a while. It's actually not so bad here, although you are a little strange. What do you call this place?
You have arrived at Rosedale Valley. Welcome home.
As the bells toll, they warn, pride goes before a fall. Life and death is always present, the cycle will revolve. Open eyes ask why, evolve, involve your inner mind, inner self intertwined, mental health redefined. Flowers that bloom today, someday soon will fade away. All who flourish are destined to decay. Brave and violent man will disperse in the end, like a whirl of dust in the wind. As the bells toll, they warn, pride goes before a fall. Life and death is always present, the cycle will revolve.
しんしんと降る雪、時が止まるこの大地。虎視眈々とその足元に点々と残る誰かの足跡。やがて来る春の足音とともに、開く命の花は永遠のように。しかし一瞬の形を探せ。そして朽ちる。けど大地に残る種は朽ちず。再度来る雪に埋もれる。しんしんと降る雪、時が止まるこの大地。虎視眈々とその足元に今も眠る次の命。
Hey, Grandma.
Hey, Kunji, you're late.
I'm sorry. I just had a toot.
A toot, right.
Well, you know, like a toot.
I know.
You know?
We planned this, right?
Yeah.
I know, but I'm on time. I mean, you know, hello.
Sorry.
I had to plan ahead of time, right? So here I am.
Was it the right amount of time for you and your edible?
Yes. Here I am. How do you feel?
Like a little nervous.
Ooh, how come?
Well, like usually it's just, you know, with pals, it's something we usually hide from grown-ups, you know. But I don't think they would.
Your father used to smoke.
What?
Oh, Jesus, Maria. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. Jesus Maria. What does it feel like for you when you're loopy?
I feel, a bit freer. I don't care as much about...
You don't usually care very much.
Well, I do kind of.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation.
I usually feel like I can like zone in on one thing when I get stoned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But there's this one movement section that we started to like do when we got stoned, and we like practiced stoned, and it was really fun to like zone in on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was that, like you're talking about, like more free and open. Like it felt like I had almost access to everything in my body. And so like, yeah, movement's been really fun.
Uh-huh. I've never sung when stoned.
Never? But you sing all the time.
I know, but...
Do you want to like try some? We can try it.
Try what?
You want to try some singing?
Sure.
And then maybe I could like do some movement as you sing.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be kind of weird, but we're kind of weird.
Why would it be weird?
Well, do you know anyone else who gets high with their grandson and then does art in their basements?
Well, maybe not. Feel loose?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I had a rehearsal earlier, so I'm still kind of like...
Okay, here we go.
Hey, Linda. Sorry I'm late.
What do you mean late?
Well, we said we were going to meet at 2:30. Yeah, sorry, I just had one more thing before. I actually had to upload something else for Matt and Julie for the project.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
I was just singing, you were dancing, no?
Well, yeah, I came in on you singing. That was it was cool.
I'm your grandma, right?
I mean, in our piece, yeah.
We're not in our piece? Okay.
Yeah.
Kunji. I'm
Yeah.
Linda.
Yeah.
Well, I must admit, I have to tell you, I'm stoned. Are you not stoned?
No. I could be if
Jesus Maria.
might be a different kind of rehearsal then.
Okay.
For something I would have loved with my grandma was, I mean, we never got to shoot the shit, right? Would have loved to have is get stoned with my grandma. I like have my grandma swear. I don't think my grandma ever swore.
Really?
That I heard. You talked about wanting to do some singing with your daughter.
Yeah, well, we never. I've never done that really.
Yeah, hey. But you're both singers.
I know.
Yeah, that's
I know.
cool.
Yeah, it would have been nice to sing with her.
I'm sorry I never got to meet my great grandma.
I know, she was pretty cool.
Yeah, hey. Is that where you get it from?
I don't know. Do I?
Yeah, you're pretty cool, Grandma.
Okay, good. So are you singing at all?
Am I singing?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't sing a ton.
Because your mother sang. Your mother.
I know. Maybe you two can sing together some more.
Sure.
Or when I come home at Christmas, we could all have like a sing-along.
That would be fun.
Right?
Yeah, you know what? That would be really cool because we'd have songs from different generations, right?
Cool. So yeah, I'll be in Vancouver in the next week here if you want to meet up there, Linda.
Oh, yeah. What?
I'm coming out to perform at UBC, so I thought whether it's pre-show or post-show or like we could just find another day to hang out and shoot the shit.
Sure.
Cool.
Is this part of your university?
I mean, no.
So you're not at university anymore. What? As your grandma, I don't get it.
Hey, Linda, I like when you were my grandma.
Okay, I'm not your grandma.
Well, you could be.
Okay.
I mean, what do we get out of, playing these grandma and grandson roles?
We're not doing that? Good
It's fun being grandma and grandson.
Yeah, it was fun. I get to be a different person because as a real grandma, I'm not exactly the grandma I would be with you.
I would have loved to be able to chat with my grandma like this,
And you couldn't because she's dead.
Yeah. And I was just becoming old enough to like think about having these kind of conversations.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to almost like chase that dream in a way. I think you'd make a great grandma. Your granddaughter is super lucky. It's fun to live in the fiction though sometimes.
Oh yeah. I do enjoy it.
Me too. So maybe I'll call you next week, Grandma.
Okay. I'll
that good?
Look forward to it. You then.
Bye, Grandma.
Bye.
I think we have to check it.
Let us know. Okay. Hello.
Thank you, Matt.
Hello, everyone. What is that? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. If you are still on Facebook, then that's awesome. I think some people got kicked off of Facebook, so apologies for that. If you are having trouble with Facebook, come on over to our YouTube channel. That was absolutely incredible, everyone. I'm feeling so emotional, and I'm laughing and all of the things. So thank you. Matt, did you want to say anything before we get into the question and answer? Actually, if people do have questions, please put them in the comments wherever you're watching, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook, and we're going to try and balance out the questions and try and get those from you. Matt.
Oh no, I just want to echo that, to follow this process along from the beginning, just combing through the Japanese Canadian artist directory, searching for these wonderful artists, and then following the process, and then to have your expectations blown away, and just being so delighted on a Monday morning. It was incredible, and thank you so much for all of your beautiful work. It was, it's just so touching. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Can I ask a question by show of hands? Who knew each other before this? Who was familiar with anyone? Was everybody a stranger?
No.
No, not everybody.
My grandma.
Linda, did you know Kunji?
No, I didn't know Kunji, but I knew Noriko, and I knew Kayla.
Okay.
And that's it, I think.
But
although I kind of knew Baco when she was in Vancouver. Otherwise, I didn't know anybody.
Did any of the partners?
Julie, there's just 1 second. There's a feedback loop we just have to solve.
Sure.
Everyone is saying that the audio is bad. Just give us 1 second for audio. So sorry.
Should I mute myself?
Okay. People are saying that it's better now.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Oh no, I forgot my question. Before we get into the question and answer, I just want to let everybody know who's watching that when we all met in January, we had a kind of a speed dating on Zoom where everybody had 5 minutes to meet each other, and then Matt and I did some final pairing up of people, trying really hard to get pairs that were people of different generations or from different places in Canada, or that worked in different disciplines. And then we really asked them to look into their creative spirits and to sort of meet each other that way. And so over the last 4 months, they've been submitting updates to us, which we've been putting on our social media. And some of those things ended up in the final piece, and some of them did not. And so the first question I will ask will actually be for Lillian. Unfortunately, Michael is not here because there's a power outage where he lives, and so he is unable to be with us. So, Lillian, where are you? Oh, there you are. I wanted to ask you, I'm kind of changing up the question that I sent you earlier. So from our point of view, both you and Michael are pioneers in the Japanese Canadian art world. Yes.
So sorry. There's another sound issue. So sorry, everyone. Let's just, there's 1 minute to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Just confirming. One second.
If you mute, does that fix anything at all? If only one of us are unmuted at a time? Thank you. How is that, everyone out there? Thank you so much for. How does it sound now? Hello. Does it sound any better? Somebody says we sound like evil chipmunks. I wonder if it's so bad. I wonder if there's something on YouTube because everybody's on Zoom. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
I found that I couldn't have Zoom and YouTube on at the same time, so I only had one or the other. Otherwise, I got all these voices coming at me from many directions.
So then, how about if anybody has YouTube open or Facebook open, can we actually just close that and I will continue to monitor or maybe not or something like that. Is the sound so wacky? Perhaps. Is that helping? Hisako said perhaps you can mime all your questions. How is that? Someone says yeah. Okay, so why don't we continue and then is it still bad out there? It's still a bit crazy. It's changing, but it's still there. I am so sorry, everybody. Maybe I can enter the chat. I can enter the chat. Or he says use a bit. Okay, so I'm going to Nadia, what do you think if I type it into the chat, or is it better now? I wonder if it's my microphone. If somebody else speaks, can we see? Matt, can you unmute and see if there's still a problem?
I'm hearing that I think there is still a problem. People are telling me. Julie, why don't we try chatting? Nadia, can you share the chat on your screen?
I think the only problem with chatting, though, is that it's going to take forever to write the answers. Yeah.
Oh, sounds better.
It does?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Lisa says that's better. Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it before it messes up again. Okay. So Lillian. Yeah, so as I was saying that you're both pioneers in the Japanese Canadian art world and very much looked up to as legacy artists. And so I wanted to firstly ask if you would accept that comment, and also can you talk about your role as a legacy artist and what you feel you can teach and learn from other generations? Oh, but you have to unmute yourself though, Lillian.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. It's really interesting because I never do art to be a legacy artist of any sort, and being a pioneer makes me feel really old. However, my prime interest in doing artwork on the Japanese-Canadian story is that I think that if you touch people's hearts, they remember the story, they remember, and they really feel what they've gone through. I mean, there's been a lot of things, you know, written about the internment years and so forth. But when it's objective, it doesn't really sink in. And this is why I'm looking for various different ways of approaching different audiences, children, adults, and so forth. So I think Michael is much more of a legacy, person than I am, because he's got a whole string of animated films, you know, that have reached the highest levels. I just move from one project to the next, and I'm really interested just in exploring the family story, because there are so many stories, you know, that are untold. And as far as the young people, I think the Yonsei and the younger Nisei have done incredible work. I mean, I wish I were 20 years younger, especially with you and Matt. I think that this is really incredible what you've been able to do.
Lillian, I think that you're underplaying yourself. We're so happy that you accepted to do this project, and it was really beautiful work. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I'm really very lucky to be part of this group. So thank you, all of you.
Yay. Matt, do you want to go ahead with the next question?
Sure. If Natalie, you can pin Miya and Shion so that we can talk to them, that'd be great. Oh no, not me. Well, anyways, we'll go to Miya and Shion. Okay, so thank you for your beautiful piece. Obviously, you're both playing with notions of identity and how that's a game, not a haha game or anything like that. But I was wondering, in the context of this creation and all of our identities, and then just the metaphysical that you treat in your piece, how do you both feel about you? What is your take on identity, and what identities do you carry with you, and what were you meaning to play with more precisely with your piece?
Yeah, if it's okay, Miya, maybe I'll start with answering the question. Something that Miya and I talked a lot about towards the beginning of our collaboration was some of the similar feelings and experiences we've had as mixed race Japanese Canadians, and feeling like we have sort of one foot into one culture and one foot in another, and kind of feeling a bit like, for me personally, I felt a bit inadequate in each of the sort of cultural expectations in certain ways. And so something that really made me gravitate towards Miya's work and wanting to collaborate with her was how Miya uses these self-portrait masks to express this kind of in-betweenness, this weird kind of gray area, and like moving in between an inner self and the self that we share with the public and with others. And I really resonated with that artistic intention that Miya has, and I think we really brought that into this initial collaboration that we did for this Yume Digital Dreams. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt, and I have found that using movement and the body as a driving force for artistic expression has been a really healing way for me to reconnect to parts of my heritage and all different parts of my background that I felt kind of distanced from or sort of at tension with sometimes. So it kind of feels like using movement in relation to other art forms has been like a method for me to kind of put pieces of myself back together a little bit. Yeah, and Miya, I'd love to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, it was so great to work with Xian, and it was just so easy. And because we have, our being mixed and half in common, I just felt, yeah, it was just so easy. We had, so many similarities that way and shared experiences just as a starting point. And like I know for me, like when I got into mask making, it was a lot of the reason I wanted to explore identity through that medium was, I was just always being asked, like, what are you? Where are you from? And I think if I hadn't had that experience growing up, I don't know if I even would have wanted to explore it so much. But yeah, like with the masks, I can actually try on different faces. Like I can see what I look like if my eyes were more slanted, or even sometimes to the extreme where they're slanted so much it becomes distorted. So yeah, there's just, it's such a great medium to be able to play with it that way.
Oh, wonderful. And just a quick follow-up. So with the editing in your piece, where you're kind of like ghosts or specters, or like just the idea for me, it was like you're not fully there, or what was, I don't know, that was the kind of the new thing that I saw that you were both exploring through this piece that you hadn't throughout your whole updates. Is that anything, or is that just like a trick that you were playing with?
For me, I kind of felt like it was an echo, like it could have been me, it could have been her. Like I felt like that's how I sort of interpreted it. But yeah, I don't. What do you think, Xian?
Is this where we're kind of transparent, layered on top of each other? Yeah. Miya actually was, I had tried that out in the editing process, and Miya really was like, oh, I really like that particular image of the overlayering. And she was like, maybe we could try more of that. And for me, it was, kind of ghostly, added to this sort of slightly eerie sort of energy to the work. But also it was like, we were kind of in the same space at the same time. And even though we had a lot of the film created when we did work together in person, there were a lot of images also where it was just one of us in the space. And we wondered about, like what is the word I'm looking for? Like using a video editing and that method and the capabilities of that to like go past time and space, and like how can we kind of be in the same space together. So for me, that's kind of what that image like reminded me of, but it does have this ghostly sort of essence to it that I also quite liked. And I'm hoping that we can keep exploring all of these in future development of the work as well.
Cool. And just one final question before we move on. Xian, you now have in your hands a Miya Turnbull mask, which was made for your face, of your face. What is, I'm very jealous, what is that like to have a mask like of your face?
It's really cool. This was such a cool process, and I'd love to actually do workshops with Miya more, hopefully, if we can like continue doing work together in person of like how to make the masks. But for now, at least, I got to learn a bit of Miya's skills when she explained how to make a plaster cast of my face. So I got to do that for the first time and then send it off in the mail to Halifax. And then she took that cast and made the mask and then mailed it back to me. So the fact that it fits so perfectly is quite an interesting sensation. There's certain ways that if I tilt my head, even without an elastic, it won't fall off, because that's how exact the fit is. And it is kind of interesting to see the front of the face. I don't know how much it looks like me, but I've shown it to some friends and my partner, and people have been like, whoa, it's kind of freaky, but very cool. So I'm so grateful to have Miya's art now in my home. I might hang it up on the wall, but I'm not sure about hanging my own face on the wall. Just going back and forth.
I'm sure. Well, thank you both of you. It was fantastic.
Thank you so much.
So I am going to continue with a question for Thea and Noriko. So when I watched your final piece, I was quite struck, whether you meant to do this or not. I was quite struck by the blurring of the gender binary narratives. Like in the first piece, someone is boasting about drinking to excess, and in the second piece, they are talking about powdering and powdering their face and rouging their cheeks. So for me personally, I have struggled my entire life with the perception of like what is perceived to be a Japanese woman. You know, how do I need to sort of fit into that role, both internally and externally? So it was really mind-blowing for me to watch your piece. And Taya, I know that in your previous artistic work, this is something that you have challenged. And so I want to know from both of you whether you were conscious of that or not. And secondly, can you talk about yourselves as contemporary artists working within digital narratives?
Noriko-san, please, dozo. You unmuted first.
Well, I just, I guess, I thought Taya was gonna go first. In terms of the song and like when I saw the question, I was like, whoa, you know, I'm just doing music that I love. So I just want to say that these 3 songs are just songs that I love, and that they're, especially the first 2, the Shigi and the Nagauta, that kind of music is what I grew up with, that I learned from my parents and want to go. Anyway, so those are the songs that I love, and those are the ones that I chose and I pitched to Taya, and I just thought it's just amazing the way that Taya took it and, like, I don't know, hit it right out of the ballpark or whatever. And so yeah, so and I'm just doing the music. I used to be a punk rocker. I'm retired. I know I have tattoos. I don't even think about it anymore, but it's not about being you know, a badass. Is that okay to say? Said. It's just about, you know, I did what I love to do. I got tattoos. I did my big identity punk rock stuff and my music activism. And then I just sort of wanted to put that aside and really focus on like just music and the beauty of music and the music that really moves me. So I'm done. I'd like Taya to answer the more complicated question.
Sure. I think you really hit on something, Noriko-san. Like you said, you know, I'm just doing what I love to do. And I think that's a really special place when you can get in your artistry, when you're doing something that just comes from like that pure expression or that pure art or love. And when it's uncomplicated, I think by external pressures or external expectations, like this whole experience was just having fun, I think, and exploring these Japanese like song traditions that I just like heard, you know, like on a random tape that my dad would play, or like a random like Japanese soap opera or something, you know what I mean? And so it's like, for me, experiencing these, like that was so enriching for me. And to be honest, we had no conscious awareness of like what we were depicting in terms of our dress, or we like, oh, you have this kimono or this kimono, okay, put it on, or try it like this. And we just kind of filmed, and then we were collecting photos and collecting things, and I just kind of put them together, and I was like, what do you think? Noriko was like, great. And then we just went to the next phase of editing, right? So there wasn't like a message that we were trying to lace in terms of, you know, cracking open the gender binary or expectations of like how Japanese men should be or Japanese women, you know, especially depicted in like Edo period or Meiji period. It just kind of happened that by being ourselves and loving this music and expressing it in a way that, you know, is in this time in 2022, it just kind of happened. So lucky accident, I think. And also I think a good reminder that going forward with whatever, like to hopefully kind of put aside those expectations of like what art should be, what classical music should be, or what Japanese nagauta should be, or tsugaru shamisen should be, but just to do it from a place of love, and then it can be uniquely ours.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. That was a really punk answer, Noriko. But that's amazing though. It's just, you know, the person, the spirit, the creative spirit that you are is just sort of imbued into whatever it is that you take on, whatever art form that you take on. Thank you. That was incredible. Matt, over to you.
Okay, so for John and Baco, Baco, you're still, wonderful, you're still here. I think my colleague and friend Alex in the comments summed it up very well. This is stressing me out in your piece because you found such an intriguing way to play together in a way that fails. And John, you talked about, you know, kind of being intrigued by failure or acts of failure in your work before. But there's an intimacy and a friendship and a comfort that comes through. It's a very beautiful friendship, really, that comes through in that specific game that you play. And I'm wondering if you feel that yourselves, or if there is no comfort, because you're also, so it's also very isolating. You know, you set yourself so far apart, in terms of, you know, the device game and then digital technology, whatever. Anyways, that was my question.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with this sort of comfort level was, at least for me, just there right from the start. And it was so easy, like right out of the gate, we were tossing around ideas and it was very generative. And I think we could have done that from start to finish and it would have been fantastic, but I always have this need to complicate things and make them more difficult than they need to be. So we kind of devised this this project that would have, you know, the possibility of great frustration built into it, you know, and like using the sort of the pre-recorded audio instructions to make origami. Well, that's actually kind of the worst way of instructing origami. We should have obviously just done it with, like, you know, an image-based kind of instruction, but then within that, there's, you know, like to borrow Tea's term, like all these lucky accidents came out of it, and it was so rewarding. Like the amazing kind of beautiful sculptural things that came out of that process. But yeah, sorry, Baco, do you want to add anything? Oh, you're muted actually. Sorry.
Yeah, there. Yeah, what do I want to say? Well, first, I guess I should apologize if I start to cough, because when I start talking, sometimes the coughing kicks in. But definitely the process right from the get-go was amazing. I don't know really how or why, but I felt comfortable, and there was so much trust right from the very beginning. And we sent, for the first phase of the project, we sent a ton of work back and forth between each other. I mean, responses to responses and new pieces and new, I mean, actual pieces, questions, experiments, flying through the head thoughts, parts of our day. I mean, we shared so much, and I really appreciated that, because I thought it was such a beautiful way to get to know somebody that I didn't know, to creatively do this very intensive exchange. So that was the first thing that I really appreciated. And it really brought me back to something that I've been thinking more about lately, and that is the act of responding itself being a creative practice. And with John, I was able to just trust myself, and we went crazy with it, sort of, probably too much sometimes, hey, John? Like, but there was a lot of material. But I loved it. And I loved what came out of that back and forth exchange. And I just thought it was such a beautiful way to get to know each other. And to be really honest, I probably would have been really happy if we just continued to do that right till the very end, and we didn't try to put something finished for this vernissage, because I was loving that process so much. And I just thought it was so generative and really playful. But And so we had in the back of our mind at a certain stage, oh, maybe we should be thinking that of what are we going to do for the vernissage? What are we going to put together? And I kept saying something like, oh, it'll happen when it happens. Let's not, I mean, the great thing is our process. I don't want to cut that short. But at some point, I guess we didn't have to make a decision. And in one of our back and forth, and sometimes, well, often when we were sending material back and forth, there'd be many things that would come at the same time. So on this one particular day, I think there were some other things, but John had sent 2 audio recordings, and they were the initial instructions to fold. And they came with instructions like, if I'm willing to give it a try, I was sort of like it said in the video, we could not stop the video when we got confused, or we couldn't repeat, we couldn't back up, we couldn't redo. It was a one-off, fold, listen, fold, done. And so of course I had to take on that challenge, and so we did that with the initial 2 he sent on the same day. I made 2 forms, photographed them to send him, what they looked like, and then I went for a walk. And when I came back, I wrote a poem that was called The Play of Slippages, and I sent a play. This COVID talking. I wrote a poem, The Play of Slippages, and I sent that to John along with the photographs. And still hadn't decided that that was our piece for the end, but we kept it on the back burner. And then eventually that became the exchange that we decided to go with. But I think we could have gone in so many different directions because of all the things.
We'll have to keep the conversation going.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't end here. So
yeah, and that's the other thing I want to say, and I think others have mentioned it. Julie, you too mentioned it, that one of the great things about this process, so thank you everybody, was to get to know all of you. But between John and I feel like he's a new, not just a collaborator, it's truly a friendship. That'll last forever.
Well, I agree. That's fantastic. Thank you both so much. And we can't wait to see the full piece, because I'm sure the dynamic over time, however long it lasts, will change. So.
Yeah, so there's 6 other videos actually that are, I guess, going to be on the website that people can check out, along with the audio instructions in case people want to try my inept audio instructions and see what they come up with. Baco's are much clearer than mine, so you'll probably have more success with hers.
John had to keep reminding me that our whole piece had to be 8 minutes, and some of my instructions were 15 to 20 minutes long, and I kept trying hard to do a 5-minute or a 4-minute or a 3-minute set of instructions. It was hard. So in the end, some of them it's just I'm rattling off really fast because I needed to squeeze in my instructions into a minute.
Anyways, thank you so much, and looking forward to that.
John, I'm glad that you mentioned your other audio pieces, because they will be on the website. And so some people have full-length submissions that are on the website, which is www.yumedidigitaldreams.art. And so please go, and if you feel like re-watching the video that you saw tonight, you can go there, and then if you can go on everyone's separate pages and look at their full piece if it wasn't here. I believe that Kunji and Linda also have a longer piece. So I am going to continue on with a question for Will and Hitoshi. Where are you guys? There you are. So each of you stepped directly into each other's art practice. Will, with you rapping, you being the visual artist, and then moving over to Hitoshi's realm of music, and Hitoshi with you doing the film editing, if maybe not illustrating as well. How much risk / trepidation / excitement / readiness did you feel towards this?
Yeah, for me, video editing is not completely new, but yeah, I had to learn a lot in order to make it professional. But yeah, I mainly enjoyed, and those every 2 weeks update helped me because I had to make something. So, and yeah, and by the end of this project, I was quite, yeah, I became so confident, and then I was always try not to do too much because we already had Will's fantastic images, so I try not to kill his quality, and then just trying to make, yeah, the seamless flow that by editing the videos. So that's good. That was good. I really enjoyed and doing this new excitement. So
yeah, for me, I was pretty hesitant at first, actually. Like Hitoshi asked me to sing, or if I could sing, and I was like, no, hell no, I can't sing. But he kind of insisted. He wanted to use some voice recordings in the music, so we kind of just went with it. It was kind of like the whole spirit of this project, really, to kind of just go with the flow. And I know I had to re-record that a couple of times and change the lyrics, but we had fun. I had fun. I had fun doing that for sure. And music has always interested me, so I really was interested in seeing Hitoshi's process and learning a little bit more about music production as well.
Can you, can I just ask one more sort of follow-up to that? So from all of your updates, the two of you worked, it's like you fell into this crazy groove. You were working so fast with each other. Can you briefly talk about the process of your collaboration, how you actually worked?
Yeah, we just kind of started right from the get-go with tossing ideas back and forth. And I think actually that's what you, Julie, and Matt had suggested, just to do like a call and answer kind of thing. So that really got the ball rolling, and the process was just like, I would listen to his music and just do a quick drawing, record it. It'd be like a 15 to 20 minute drawing, and then I would just try to shorten it to 30 seconds or whatever, and then send it back to him. And then he would chop it up and put the video together.
Yeah, vice versa. Will, I always requested Will to draw something, and then he sent it to me, and I made music, and yeah, repeat that process, and then we made this fantastic last piece. Ended up. So
you make it sound so easy. I got a comment, I got a text from my cousin, and she was like, this only took them 4 months. It feels like it should have taken a year of work to get to where you both did. So I want to thank you both so much for such incredible work. And I'm gonna throw it back to Matt. So I'm sorry to like rush everybody along here, but I think we lost a little bit of time with that sound problem at the beginning. Matt, you want to take it over?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. This is for Don and Kayla. So Don and Kayla, when we were putting the clips together, it seemed to Julie and I that you two, your pairing was the most disparate in terms of disciplines. Kayla, you work mainly in photography, and Don, you're an actor and performer. And we didn't, I was like, honestly, the most, nervous is the wrong word, but I was just like, well, I don't know what this fit is. But the updates that you put out were so varied, and you explored such a wide scope of possible ideas But when I saw your beautiful piece today, for me, it was the poetic voice, the way that you both use poetry. Your language is so kind of merges, the style is very similar. And I'm wondering how you both found that together, and whether you both worked in poetry before, because I think the narrative kind of foundation of that piece is just your beautiful way with words, and it was always there throughout the updates, but I didn't piece it together until this final piece.
You want to start, Kayla, or do you want me to go ahead?
You can start.
Yeah, it's funny because we really took the spirit that I think Julie, you and Matt both put forward of like no pressure. And for me, I just took that, okay, we've got free license to just play. And I had no idea what was going to happen. And I was looking at the notes I'd written before our first real meeting on Zoom. And it was just incredible because we would just sometimes sit there and just be chatting. And there were so many synchronous things happening, like both in my life and in Kayla's life. I had like relatives who started sending these old photos back and forth. And Kayla was on this exploration as well to find their, family roots and stuff like that. So it was just incredible along the way how many things sort of came together. There's a couple of texts that I put into the process, which I realized like I wrote when I was just a few years older than Kayla is now, when I was really getting into theater and just, really exploring what it meant to have Japanese blood, but, to be totally rooted in Canadian soil. And it wasn't until quite near the end, I think, that this whole idea of home came up. Kayla had been traveling almost the whole time that I've known her, and I've been sort of at home. But I would need to tell one amazing coincidence story as well, because yes, I was thinking about how we were coming at our art from our creative ideas, maybe from such different places, like photographic images, whereas I'm used to working with my body and image. But I had really wanted to play with this mask that I bought in Japan. So when Kayla came to Toronto, the weather wasn't perfect. I'd wanted to take them down into Rosedale Valley, but one day it seemed okay. So we went, and Kayla's a great partner, will come along with anything I propose. So hiked down there with camera equipment and masks and scarves and all kinds of stuff. So we played with this, but later on I was researching the mask, the Hyotoko mask. And one of the origin stories is that this, it was a boy who had this strange face, and he could create gold out of his belly button. Well, that gold thing came after this little improvised script writing we did. And that was an interesting process in itself, because I'm used to doing improvisation live in a studio where actors are just playing off each other. We decided this is digital. We're going to just put up some images and then type into the chat box. So that's how we created our dialogue, was just through a Zoom chat box. And then the last piece that I really wanted, I thought might be there for the beginning, was laughter. And when we were near the end of our thing, there was like, it was pretty serious, like not much laughter. And then I realized, but that's the comic mask. And I made that strange woman sort of laugh. But anyway, that's that. Kayla.
Yeah, I think it was really it was really fun working with Dawn. I think especially, like I mentioned to Dawn several times when we had actually met up in person, like when we were in Toronto and Rosedale Valley, like from the first moment, like Dawn's like, I have this idea, I'm gonna be this character and put this mask on. It's like immediately Dawn's like theater like personality came out. Like I just turned around and Dawn was just like hobbling around in the forest with like a stick and like just improvised costuming. And I was just like I still look back at some of the photos that Dawn was just like, okay, I'm just gonna lay here at a log. And I was just like, every time I think back to that moment, I'm just like laughing because it's just so funny to me. And I'm not I'm not like a theater person at all. So even when we were doing that scripted kind of, well, not scripted, but the improvised dialogue with the masked character, I just like, I'm not a theater person, so I had a really hard time. And Dawn would just kind of come out and be like, you know, doing her voices. But I think it was really fun to just be encouraged to actually experiment and try new things. And that was a lot of our process in like our updates even, and trying to experiment with like mediums that maybe we were just curious about. But I think a lot of our conversations over the last few months were really trying to get to know each other. And then, yeah, like Dawn said, kind of seeing these parallel themes come up. But I think that there were things too that like Dawn immediately shared, like some of her writing, like the stuff that we used in our video. And so I don't like, I know Matt, you're talking about our poetry, but I'm like, I don't consider what I do poetry. I'm just writing. No, I'm not writing. I don't write. I write Instagram posts, and they always end up being a little bit more sort of poetic. And I think Dawn was drawn to some of those, but I was really drawn to a lot of Dawn's texts that she had written like so many years ago. And I love like absorbing poetry. And so I was really happy to see some of this encompassed in some of the stories, like when Dawn had first told me about like her grandfather's story about going back to Powell Street and things like that. Like I had that as one of my updates, and I was kind of like, Dawn, like I think we should include that because that theme of home just kind of came up, and it was stuff that I was thinking about too in the last few months because I was like away and also kind of making my way back to I guess like home, like as Dawn mentioned. So I think it just really just happened.
That's cool.
I also kind of thought, you know, maybe there should be a different kind of mythic name or something rather than Rosedale Valley. But in a sense, it works because that's where we did come together and into this sort of magical exploratory world. And it was quite a magical day, in fact, because there were very few people that came. So we were doing all these crazy things, but, you know, it was just possible. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing, you know, the whole piece is very, for some reason I can't explain, it's very cathartic to me, and it's very evocative, and all the characters that just kind of spring out of nowhere, and you don't really know, but they grab you. And anyways, and what I got from that, Kayla, is that art making is just lying on a log. So.
Yeah. And also just to add to, like, a lot of the music and the sound, like all of the music and the sounds in our video was just stuff that we did like ourselves, and we're just kind of figured out. So we're also like, I don't know, I wouldn't consider myself a musician, and I don't know if Dawn would consider herself a musician, but it was super experimental. Like the end of that video was me just reversing one of the audio tracks that was in the video at an earlier point, and it just ended up matching the really eerie and spooky, weird mood of it all.
Anyways, it's fantastic. So thank you, both of you, so much. And you.
Yes, I also want to say that some of the teams actually took it upon themselves to travel and meet each other, which was not the idea of the piece, but I think that there was just which is quite incredible that I think Miya and Shion actually went all the way to Halifax. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to end the evening with one last question for Linda and Kunji. Kunji unfortunately had to work, and he wasn't able to join us this evening. So Linda, it's all on you. So when we started thinking about this project, we really wanted to make an effort to bring together the generations. When we created the Tashmi project, one of our goals was to bridge the gap between the generations in the Japanese Canadian community, which exist as a leftover for many people, leftover from the internment experience. And so your piece was so moving to me, and I'm sure so many other people, because you imagined and you literally experienced a familial relationship that a lot of us never actually had access to, whether it was because of silence growing up in JC families, or language barrier, or whatever the case may be. So in your opinion, how do we talk to each other between generations? How do the generations talk to each other so that our community remains strong and healthy? And how do we not disappear as a community? It's a big question.
So it's can you hear me? Can I hear me? I can't hear myself. It's you know, we used to talk about the intermarriage rate in the Japanese community, and how we were going to disappear. And this was like back in, I don't know, the 70s, like, you know, ages ago. We fretted about it and we discussed it and we went through all these Rudy things, and, you know, but look, I mean, there's all these mixes and the community has not disappeared. So, you know, it's like kind of worry over nothing is kind of how I feel about it. It's not going to disappear. There's something about, I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Well, I am myself, I'm married to a Hagujin, and so my daughter is mixed, but actually, and she just, I mean, she's coordinated Powell Street Festival for many, many years. She worked for the Nikkei Cultural Center, and I never pushed her at all about anything. And that's the interesting thing, you see. As Kunji's grandmother, I was very kind of, I gave advice and I helped him with this and that and whatever. And I don't do that. You know, I totally don't. I'm very hands off, but there's something about being put into an abstract relationship that just happens. Also, we're kind of alike. We both tease. And so, you know, it felt like we just had this immediate, easy way to relate to one another. And so it was really quite comfortable. I kind of feel like, oh my God, ours was so simple compared to everybody else's. There was so much animation and all the rest, and there was so much manipulation and this and that, and all we did was act. That's all we did, right? Or just talked. And I did drum, you know, but he seemed to have rejected that. I had a drum back there that I carted home and blah, blah, and totally ignored it. And also in that particular piece that he showed, he didn't show his dancing. And the piece he showed me, he showed dancing. And so I don't know what the hell. I mean, you know, he totally changed it after he showed it to me. So he's completely untrustworthy. And if he were here, you know, I could really tear a strip off him, but never mind. He's busy elsewhere. His problem. I can say whatever I want. And so you see what relationship we have. It's fine. It's good. And the legacy will carry on. Japanese Canadians will carry on. It seems clear to me. Look, all of us are still involved in the heritage. And especially like Noriko and Taya, God, that Shigin thing with the two voices was amazing. It was just phenomenal. And anyway, it was just, this whole collaboration thing was great. I was so happy to have seen everybody's contributions and the work that they did together. So much more impressive than ours, I felt. But never mind. It's okay. You know, Kunji was busy. He was touring. He was in the middle of a tour. But anyway, never mind. He is
Linda,
obviously, yes. So sorry.
No, your piece was, difficult to find the simplicity and to tell the truth simply. So thank you so much for your piece. I think everybody wants you to be their grandma. So I would really, Matt and I would like to thank you all for coming. And if can we just take a moment to point out the people who haven't spoken. Our amazing team, Hidetaka Ishii, who is not here, but I'm wondering if they're watching, who helped us with all of the video editing for what you saw tonight. Nadia Miki Sakurai, who is helping with the technical and the Zoom and the YouTube and the Facebook. Thank you so much, Nadia.
Who is she?
Oh, she's over here. And then Laura Suzuki from Doodletronics, who is not here, but she did she built our website. Ria Nakamura Drole down there, who helped us with translation and graphic design. And Yukari Oyama Peerless, who was also helped us with translation and did all of our social media work for us.
And briefly, if any of these people have anything to say, please say it. No pressure. Okay.
So thank you everyone for coming. Please go to our website to watch over again. Let people know that that's where the full length pieces are. Thank you to Canada Council for funding this project, as well as NAJC and the Japanese Canadian Artist Directory. And if you have any questions, you can email us at tashmiproductions@gmail.com. And unless anyone is burning to say anything, I think Nadia, you can bring us to the end of the evening. Thank you everyone for coming.
Are we clear? Can we